Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we'll sit down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing 48 Hours, directed by Walter Hill. We have newly released Breaking by Abi Damaris Corbin, Pinocchio by Robert Zemeckis, Barbarian by Zach Greger, and The Woman King, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. Vincent Daly, how's it going, buddy?
How's it going, Thomas?
It's going okay with me. And how was your week of movies, man?
A week was good. A lot of new releases. Always exciting when we can get above 3.
Yeah, 4. I was surprised by it.
You know, some of these fall in that semi on streaming service, semi still in theaters. Obviously, everything's still getting swept by Maverick, so you know they'll take their money where they can get it.
So true.
So I was able to knock a lot of these out. So obviously, Pinocchio, Disney Plus, and things like that. So yeah. Above average week, but enjoyed a lot of this. Excited to talk about all these movies. Got some hot takes, certainly. So, you know, I'm always happy to give.
What do you think I'm most excited to hear about at this
list? Oh, Pinocchio for sure.
Yeah.
It's both Zemeckis and
Colonel Parker himself.
Colonel Parker.
But first, let's get to that one previously released. This is going back to 1982. This is called 48 Hours. It's directed by Walter Hill, and it's 48 HRS hours. Because there was a show that came out in 88 then. It was 82. Walter Hill's 48 Hours. What do we have here with this film?
Sure. So another chip away at the unofficial Walter Hill project. We covered The Warriors. We covered Streets of Fire.
Yep.
And now we're kind of jumping back around. Unofficial because, believe me, I'm not exactly doing a director study with him, but this was on a list and happens to be another Walt Hill. And also might be kind of the unofficial announcement of an Eddie Murphy run. I was looking at his filmography.
It's got a lot.
Yeah.
And good stuff, too.
Sure.
Or, you know. What's talked about is good. Right. Whether it holds up with the daily ratings is a different story.
Exactly. It landed on kind of a thought to possibly do, because on my end, I'm looking at his filmography. 48 Hours is the first of his films.
Really?
And this is obviously apart from any kind of comedy special like Raw or stand-up stuff.
Right.
On top of that as well, I mean, I have no interest in covering almost anything past like 95 in this filmography. That's
with Eddie Murphy.
That's when you
Dr.
get
Dolittle.
Nutty Professor, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I have no interest. But this first run, I mean, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, I am interested. So we may get some
Coming
Eddie
to
Murphy.
America?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
So some Eddie Murphy love, we'll see.
I love that.
Above all else, we are watching 48 Hours this week, folks, because 48 Hours is considered to be the origin, the grandfather of the buddy cop film.
This?
Yes. This is pre-Lethal Weapon. This is, of course, pre-anything Rush Hour, Bad Boys, anything like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like Lethal Weapon is so tuned in to that first kind of buddy cop, and this is,
Maybe like Lethal Weapon 2 kind of perfected it almost, or sealed it as far as like, oh no, this is like going to be the trend for a while.
Bingo.
But it starts here, you'd say?
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
And this is more so me going off of some of the research, people calling this the template that's all based off.
Right.
You hit the nail on the head, though, that I think Lethal Weapon is a much more refined product. This is proto. This is first kind of run at it, and there's a lot of ripple effect to it being a proto. I'll make a lot of comparisons to the ripple effect we have from 1970s movies, particularly late 70s type of film that we're seeing. The scripts that are picked up. certainly the huge aftermath that Dirty Harry has kind of left in the American film landscape for San Francisco type of stories, really rough cop type of stories.
Yeah, definitely.
In the soundtrack even. So while 48 Hours is the grandfather to the buddy cop in itself, it is at one piece in, if you will, the evolution of kind of
cop movies.
Hard-boiled movies.
As you always say, on the shoulders of giants.
Yes,
and this stemmed from something as things stemmed from this.
Absolutely.
Real quick on the dates, this is 82 for Walter Hill. Our past two films, were they after this?
Streets of Fire was 84, so after.
Okay.
And then I think Warriors was
Late 70s, right?
Yeah,
77 or 79?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay, so it's just in between here.
Yeah, this is in between.
But these are big actors here. Because Eddie Murphy is big at this point because of his...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Raw
comedic
is...
career.
Yeah, huge. I mean, if not like a prolific stand-up special.
Right.
And to him, I mean, again, there was a curiosity, there was an electricity walking into this film. It has this accolade of first buddy cop. It's Eddie Murphy's first run. Nick Nolte, for better or worse. Yeah. I think it's for worse, unfortunately, there. But it was interesting. I was coming into this, so that's why we're watching this week, folks. Basically, the story follows the hard-boiled San Francisco detective played by Nick Nolte. He is on the trail of a prison escapee that quickly becomes a cop killer. This escapee, the villain here, is kind of finds himself to be a psychopath within the film, and that's kind of his depiction. He loves killing cops. So I think right off the back we're a little bit more simple than even the lowest of the Dirty Harry sequels as far as kind of villain crafting. But hey, it's not terrible. At the end of his leads and the end of his wits, Nick Nolte teams up with a convict for 48 hours. Just right off the pack, that partnership may just be the right stuff to track down this criminal. This is where Eddie Murphy comes in, and I have to be honest, he just comes in a little too late. It's like 30 minutes in, and when I say, Nick Nolte is at the end of his wits and the end of his leads, I mean, we really see him just doing his thing for so long, and then really only at the end of that, we get involved with Eddie Murphy. Perfect example right there that you look at something like Lethal Weapon, you look at something like Nice Guys, or really any kind of in-between there of quality, and there is a difference in how quickly we get the buddy cop together. I think it's
almost instantaneously, or at least we have character development, and then they meet up.
Exactly.
But you're getting them on screen.
Yeah, and 30 minutes may sound not like a lot, but I mean, this is only like, I think it's a buck 38.
Hour 36.
Yeah.
So he's missing for the first third of the film, basically.
Exactly. And I just think there's just something so fundamental. You understand what this film is about. You understand where it works in the edit. Make that snappier. Lean into what works. There.
Definitely.
And clearly, Eddie Murphy is really a breath of fresh air. I would say his performance here is very proto. He gets a little bit of time that he's doing his normal thing. They walk in on him singing on a Walkman. He's singing some Prince song, I think. Okay. And he really is such I mean, he is holding the comedy tag of this up. Almost entirely by himself.
Okay.
We'll talk about some of the comedy itself in a little bit, but I would say as far as this being maybe the unofficial start to watching an Eddie Murphy run, he was definitely one of the best parts about this film. Just a little bit too late. You know what I mean?
Well, do we get Eddie Murphy drama as well? Like, are we seeing him for the first time as a serious character?
No, I would. I mean, there's serious moments, mostly in the forced tension that is between the two of them as partners.
Okay.
Which I think is critical for any kind of buddy cop film. They got to kind of hate each other to then like each other.
Yeah, you need to have tension between the two. Yeah. But for the most part, he's comedic. He's a comic character.
Nolte's got none of the comedy chops. he's got chops. He's gripping people up, but I mean the action is wild here. But it's all on his shoulders, and in a good way and in a bad way. This film is much more serious serious, much more gritty. Kind of it's kind of a totally different thing. I can't really compare this to a Lethal Weapon in ways because the grittiness is no doubt a product coming out in 82 of the rough late 70s story style. This is a lot, and I mean, folks, a lot more rough than around the edges than something that we would see even just a couple years later. Characters are brash and almost like unredeemable across the board. Every cop is terrible in this. Hard-boiled is definitely a descriptor for like noir stories and cop stories or detective stories. But it's like everyone's an asshole. Everyone's real bad. I would say nearly every character is extremely racist. As far as this being a point of where maybe some of the things were comedic back in the day, I mean, the script is really out of pocket in some areas. I mean, like really out of pocket. Yeah. So much so that, again, in 82, even just the shock value of that could have been, not saying that audiences would agree with the slang.
Right.
More so the shock value and how drastically Nolte and Murphy are as characters. Maybe those were comedic moments. I was not, I did not find them to be comedic. I mean, the film puts a light on them as well in a dramatic sense when we finally get some sort of cohesion between Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, as friends.
Right.
Yeah, it's just it comes out of nowhere.
And for a 2022 watch, it's a little bit more like it's abrasive on you a little bit more.
It's abrasive, but I think it even watching this in 82, I wouldn't call it comedy. I mean, it's, if anything, it's drama between the two of them,
right?
And the racial divide. It's just, it comes out of nowhere a lot, and there's a lot of it. So out of pocket is definitely the note there. Once again, I mean, I think in 82, these could be comedic spots, but the film plays them for drama. So I think my critical outlook on this is that, well, the film is kind of coming back to it, tying back to it as drama. Was it meant to be comedy in the first place? And I don't think it is. So in which case, I wasn't really digging it. Nick Nolte in particular is also a freight truck in this. He is.
Would you expect anything less?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like some people got injured on set with this. He is just gripping people up, and if you can really tell when someone is like fake choking someone on screen. And believe me, I'm not needing realism, but like he is choking people. It's wild. I think this is a small highlight in the sense that late 70s fallout of that grittiness was kind of a positive, because again, the action was shocking, right. Just the same way that the dialogue was shocking in ways, and that was I don't hate
that. I don't hate the sound of that.
Yeah, it's not anything like a Lethal Weapon, but you could see where Shane Black would look at this and say, okay, I can refine this,
sure.
and give it charm and give it entertainment.
Yeah,
I think part of the problem this film has is it's also very sad. I mean, there's not a lot of fun for it to have in this buddy cop.
It is billed as a comedy, too.
Yeah,
or partial comedy at least.
And it's all on Eddie's shoulders.
Okay, yeah.
It's one last note here is there is a super odd soundtrack and score. James Horner does this, and obviously, clearly a very big working professional. It's certainly cool in parts, but impossibly goofy in others. You hear your kind of normal noir saxophone, and then all of a sudden, there's like very, very prominent steel drum that comes, and it's like jazzy steel drum too.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And it just doesn't work. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah, this goes back to my comparison. Clearly, this is trying to do a Lalo Schifrin, Dirty Harry style kind of groovy cop feel to it.
Sure.
And it really just falls flat. Yeah. I seriously, if you have no interest in watching this movie, look up the soundtrack and just hear the huge amount of steel drums in this. Like, the music's good, and then there's just like
is it during like chase scenes or something like that?
It's in every. It comes out in every piece of the score. It's real bad. But steel drums aside, overall, I think I really tune into this by saying it is lacking charm, but it is also, because of that, it lacks a lot of electricity. It's lacking electricity in villain. It's lacking electricity in the relationship between the two. And I think maybe charm is really the secret ingredient that would tie that all together. Unrefined, rough, but I do agree that this is the template for a buddy cop film, as rough as it is, as proto as it is. It's all right here, but in that is on Shoulders of Giants themselves. I see just as much as Dirty Harry in this as I see 48 Hours in Lethal Weapon. So, an interesting study. I do not regret watching this film. I'm not coming away with a positive rating, but it really was interesting to watch for that reason. I just don't feel that the template is the best of the subgenre. I'm not even close to a diehard fan of Lethal Weapon, but in no way I would recommend this film over it. And in no way would I recommend, no way in hell would I recommend this film over Nice Guys, or something I actually do like. So we're going to go ahead and give 48 Hours. Get ready now.
Okay.
Hey, 48.
Oh, very cute. Very cute.
It is legit how I feel on it, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sure it wasn't a 49? You sure it wasn't a 47?
I was all over the map with this film. I mean, I would say...
Did you have to reflect on it a bit after watching it? Or
Yeah.
by the end were you like, pretty much got this solidified?
Yeah, and especially I had to kind of, when I refine some of my notes, and believe me, I can be long-winded on movies. So, you look at the runtime of these podcasts. There's a steady incline to the runtime. But yeah, it is. It was something that. I had to kind of reflect on how much I cared about the soundtrack, how much I cared about some of like the dicey racist stuff. And I really did. What I came to is that this was sitting with me quite a bit for the takeaway of the film.
Right. Okay, cool. All right, so that's 48 for 48 hours, Vin. Very nice. So before we move on, because we have 4 new releases, just want to remind folks, we're completely producer-supported here. We're going on with the value-for-value model. So are you enjoying the podcast, or are you using the website at all? If you are and you're finding it valuable, can you put a $sign to it? Mm-hmm. You go to thedailyratings.com, you head to the donations tab, and basically that's what you can do. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel. We have reoccurring donations if you want, or you can do a one-time of your choosing of any amount. You write a note into us, and we're going to read that note too on air. So again, staying away from corporate advertising. We're just trying to build something here, and it's coming along slow, but it's good.
Sure. I think more than anything, we've been enjoying hearing from the few people that have actually wrote in, and you know what I mean, and hearing maybe some flack, taking a jab at me, jab at some scores, which is honestly, if I'm giving the criticism, I got to take it a little bit too. So
yeah, and that's the fun. That does get fun. And that's what you can write anything to us in the notes, and we're going to read it. Also, I just want to give a shout out to producer Sean, who donated a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. He kind of hit us up, and he's been helping us out on the website.
Oh yeah,
and so I just want to give a shout out to producer Sean, and a big thanks for that. I told him, I said, we have no money to give you. And he's just like, he doesn't care. He's just like, I got some time after work, or work slow during the day. He's like knocking out movies a little bit on the site, which is a big help for us, because any headway there is great for us. So anyway, we want to give a shout out to producer Sean there. But again, folks, it's dailyratings.com. Go to the donations tab, and we thank you so much for becoming a producer. Okay, so Vin, with that, we're going to go to our now in theaters, our new release.
Quickly being kicked out to the curb.
Yes, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't even think I heard of this. This is called Breaking. It had an original title of 892, which I don't know if that makes any sense.
Maybe like a police code? I don't know.
Okay, so anyway, it's Breaking. It's directed by Abi Damaris Corbin. And just kind of, what is this film? What is this film, and what do we have with it?
Yeah. This film is heavily marketed as a modern day Dog Day Afternoon, and as a huge fan of that film, that's kind of what landed on my radar. Breaking stars John Boyega, fresh off the Star Wars sequels, which I'm sure he is ecstatic to distance himself from. He is also in Woman King, so it's a little bit of a Boyega week.
Good for him.
Yeah. This tells the true story of a war veteran, Brian Brown Easley. Fueled by mental and emotional problems, he holds up a bank with a bomb, and the runtime is really just dedicated to him or us unpacking his motives throughout the whole time. I gotta say, the true story aspect was a little bit of a detriment here. I feel there was too much trying to, I don't know, create a sympathetic side to it, and I think it couldn't be farther from that marketing comparison or what was in the marketing that this is Dog Day Afternoon. I think this was nothing like Dog Day Afternoon other than the very surface level, it is a bank heist,
right,
or a bank holdup, Yeah.
So did you find yourself being pushed by just the way the film was going? Were you trying to be pushed into a corner of liking this character? Or finding him more morally gray rather than morally black.
More so, I don't know. It tries to make, I would say almost the entire runtime is making a sympathetic character where, I don't know. I mean, there is a kind of a cool factor to Dog Day Afternoon. I know that's not like maybe the most thought out thing, but they are criminals, they're recognizing as criminals. And I think there's so much, there are huge hoops this film jumps through to make this character sympathetic and not fall within a light that, he is a victim of circumstance.
Right.
Certainly that can be the underscore or the through line to the character. There has to be more than that, though. And I really mean it. So many scenes, almost every single scene in this film is him just, calling the police or calling, the Veterans Association or calling CNN or calling his daughter and just making, him empathetic, and there's just no follow through on it. There's just nothing here,
Yeah, so if they would have cut that out and you just would have got this guy who's doing wrong, and so you're looking at him for someone who's doing wrong, it could be a little bit more, I don't know, in a way, badass and kind of better and darker. Like make a villain, if you make a villain out of him almost.
Yeah, and definitely because of the true story element of this, it's definitely not trying. It's picking a side that we're maybe seeing this in a historical context, that there was a reason why he engaged in this this bank heist or this bank holdup. And I'm certainly, and again, don't get me wrong, I'm fine playing that out. Certainly that would be what would be great to unpack at the end of the film. It is pushed right in our face right away. And more importantly, from a script perspective, there's nothing else to it. You know what I mean?
Right.
We don't get maybe us being empathetic and it evolves to being, maybe we don't see it as it is. It is so very cut and dry. We feel bad for him for the entire runtime, the short runtime. Thank God it was short.
So, well, it's an hour and 43. How long do we spend inside the bank?
Because the entire time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And in that, I guess, I'm maybe backtracking some of my some of my hate of the comparison to Dog Day, but in that it is Dog Day Afternoon. We are the whole time we're in the bank.
And I will say, you and I are definitely heist guys.
Sure.
We could easily probably do a part 1 and part 2 special on that alone of bank heist films. So it's just, I don't know. Were there any good elements of the heist? Kind of. Was there moments of you were really into it and it was almost edge of seat?
Maybe first 20. I was kind of engaged with it. But again, nothing is done. I wouldn't really call this a heist. It's more of a drama with the setting being a bank holdup.
Okay.
It's primarily this writing falls short because it's just exposition of the character's backstory and motives. It's all very extremely basic. Countless, and I mean just countless scenes are just him on the phone, just going through the motions of just telling whoever he has on the phone in that moment why he's doing it, why this is a thing. We get a little bit of the spotlight of why, where his emotional and mental problems seep into his lucidity and his rationalism. But it's real boring because if you think about it, just fundamentally what the scenes we're seeing, we're not seeing anything entertaining or even high stakes. It's a dude on the phone breaking down. Basically, he's breaking down on the phone.
And really, he's playing a victim while at the same time he's creating actual real victims.
It is, it's a bomb threat. And again, if the film has to have this outlook that he is to be a sympathetic character, especially for the real history of it, how we're seeing that through, I'm fine with that objective. But again, it comes back to, in the edit, understand where the film is working and where is it not.
Yeah, as far as filmmaking goes, give us something.
Boyega actually does have some decent emotional scenes here.
Okay.
He's definitely trying to bring a lot. There's a lot done to as well. Copy or obviously show, in wardrobe, in mannerisms, this real person, Brian Brown Easley. But man, it's so just like actually boring. Like we're just watching him on the phone go through a breakdown. And that is repeated and repeated and repeated. Almost every scene in the film is him. We are getting the information of the script, the exposition through these phone calls, and there's nothing else to it.
Okay.
And I really I cannot feel strongly enough this was a waste of time for that reason. You know what I mean? You can literally watch one of the many phone calls that he dishes it all, he dumps it all.
And you get the gist. You get the gist. And then it's just repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Exactly. And nothing is done there to create excitement, to create stakes. Nothing is done to create a difference from circling the drain on it then.
Was this in theater or was this like a small production, like online thing? Digital release?
I believe Bleecker Street. Off the top of my head, I don't know anything else that Bleecker Street does. Definitely recognize the label though.
Okay.
This was in theaters though.
Oh, it was?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Boy. The movie theaters are not doing well.
We're supposed
to be back. We're supposed to be back to normal here.
I mean, Maverick ate its lunch for sure. I mean, Maverick is a maverick in the theater. Like I said, it is a real shame because Boyega's performance here is good. I straight up good. But it's just that we just get it rinse repeat. It's a real shame that such a bland movie is the last film of the late actor Michael Kenneth Williams as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he passed away recently, and probably everyone will say, "Oh, you got to see him in The Wire." He's been in a handful of other things. I honestly enjoy seeing him, or enjoyed seeing him on film here. He does get some spotlight in here, but again, not enough to be his final mark, and a role that is just visually boring. The conversations he has with Boyega inside the bank, he's basically like the police negotiator. The conversations they have is just like, okay, we got the emotions out the first couple minutes, now they're kind of bonding, and it's like, okay, time for the next one on the contact list. Let's call CNN. You know, I mean,
that's annoying. Yeah,
it's just... I mean, if I was to greenlight this project, I mean, I certainly there's an objective that this film has to tell a accurate history, to tell Easley's side of the story, if you will.
Right.
But there's nothing done there to make this an electric film to actually want to watch it. Just read the actual history of it at that point. I strongly believe this script got lost, lost in the sauce in trying to make this ultra sympathetic character out of a bank robber, and certainly can be done, and certainly aspires to maybe be a Dog Day Afternoon with none of the execution. So lost that even when the motivations are clear, nothing is done to develop the plot itself, and instead it is a hostage story which the entire runtime is making us feel bad and falls incredibly flat. We're going to go ahead and give Breaking a 37.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Maybe there was a reason why Maverick ate its lunch.
Yeah, and pretty much every other movie in theater. Yeah, honestly. That's what it seems like.
Honestly.
Yeah, boy. 37. Yeah, that's not too exciting to hear about. And I think there's a reason why most people probably even haven't really heard of this film.
That's so...
You know what I mean?
It is really amazing watching these movies on curve as they're coming out.
Right.
And it's like, it kind of makes sense, you know what I mean? That it does translate to box office performance. So
got in the 80s on Rotten Tomatoes. Which is just like,
we'll touch on the tomatoes.
Okay, all right. Okay, it's tomatoes. So coming from a film that we do know kind of that we've been waiting for a little bit, this is only Disney Plus, or is this theaters as well?
Straight to Disney Plus.
What are you doing? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so folks, we're moving on here. This is, again, still new release. This is Pinocchio. This is the first time it's been done...
Redone?
Redone in, I don't even know. Maybe there's a 2016 one, or I forget when it was seriously done.
Yeah,
to this extent,
I'm not sure. Well, your favorite director, Del Toro, is coming out with a Pinocchio rendition. Actually,
he is.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a fantasy kind of. Oh, you don't like it?
No, it's also.
I gotta turn you around on Del Toro.
What is this doubling up on things?
Oh, very weird. Absolutely. This was Jungle Book.
Jungle Book thing, the same thing. Where it's just like, I get you have two different studios and two different casts, but it's like you guys. This goes all the way back to Ants and A Bug's Life. It's just
You're
like
so right.
y'all got a
Yes.
pants to like make it come out like 2 years later or something like
just
that.
give me the heads up. Like, at least let's not eat away at each other's bottom line. You
Right,
know?
right, exactly. And there's going to be one that's going to be anyway. This is Pinocchio. This is Robert Zemeckis teaming up with Tom Hanks again. So this is actually kind of like a huge team. It's Disney money.
Yep.
You would think like, okay, Disney, you really trying to push Disney Plus that much? Okay. It just feels like already it's like, I mean, it's like Disney is saying, all right, this is okay. Watch it, don't watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do we get with this new rendition of Pinocchio?
Yeah.
Tom Hanks and Zemeckis.
This rendition of Pinocchio, like you said, directed by Zemeckis and reminiscent of his kind of digital animated films of the 2000s. I'm talking Polar Express. I'm talking Christmas Carol. Even Beowulf.
That was big. That was big when it came out.
Oh yeah, and
he directed Beowulf.
Yeah, he's all about that. You know, he's definitely a director that likes that cutting edge technology. I think this is a refreshing. You know, I mean, he's definitely in that space once again with this. Who knows if we're going to get more animated features out of Zemeckis. So,
I'm sure you probably will. I forgot that long list that he's done.
Yeah, and it's weird, and it's all in post Gump. You know, it's post Forrest Gump. It's all in the 2000s.
But why would when we're talking tech and stuff like that? I mean,
Sure.
that kind of makes sense.
Very
a little
true.
bit with
Very
what we're
true.
dealing with.
Yeah.
What we're dealing with here, because we have real Tom Hanks. How does Pinocchio look, and what is kind of the art style that we're getting here?
Yeah, so this is right in line with the live actions, you know, the long line, honestly, of the Disney live action remakes. And this is really the first one we covered on the podcast. This is different than the villain alt movies that we have been getting. I'm talking Cruella, Maleficent.
Right.
These are in the line of the live action remakes that honestly are carbon copies of the original films with, you know, any controversy sanded off and half the musical numbers. That's basically my review on every one of these live action Disney remakes. You know what I mean? Cut the music in half, maybe, you know, smooth it out, and it's just basically the same scenes playing out. And I'm not a fan of it, you know?
Yeah, it's a little uninspired, isn't it?
Yeah. This film is actually getting a huge amount of hate online, and I honestly don't know where it's coming from, because my opinion of these Disney live action remakes that they are soulless, that there's not really much reason to have them in, you know, side by side competing with the animated film. It's also kind of harmless in the sense that just like, all right, well, it's clearly for kids that may be responding to a different art style. They're growing up with CGI. They maybe don't like 2D animation, you know?
Yeah, and it's retelling Pinocchio, and that's fun. Like, I don't mind if the story's being told again, but, you know, I just think it shouldn't be, as you said, it feels soulless. And I said uninspired, and that's kind of just like, that's why you kind of have this meh feeling. I agree with you on the hate. I don't know.
It's kind of like 12s and 20s, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, like it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not like chill.
And go back on real quick on the animation. Is it pretty much everything is real, and we just have the animated Pinocchio and his character friends and such?
Real characters, the Fox character, Pinocchio, Jiminy Cricket, CGI animated, but plenty of real actors. Tom Hanks is playing Geppetto. The Pleasure Island guy, he was
The actor
Gaston.
or
the guy that played Gaston in the Beauty of the Beast remake.
Angus, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, he plays, you know, the carny or whatever.
Right.
I was looking at this and I was like, I was trying to go in with a positive mindset because Pinocchio is a super, super old film. It is the second movie that Disney has ever done. We're talking 1941?
I didn't realize it was that.
You know,
it was.
If there was a reason to polish up one of the old things, I mean, maybe Pinocchio is the one. And so I was trying to come about this with a positive mindset to walk into this and be like, well, maybe this does need, you know, some brushing up, you know, out of all of them, you know. Why are we choosing Aladdin? Why are we choosing Little Mermaid on the horizon? You know, let's go back to the super old, and that's maybe needs the love.
Yeah, it's cool. But it's also just like, it's also frustrating because I'm cool. That's what I'm saying. I'm cool with it. Now,
Sure.
Pinocchio's been done a few other times before and everything like that since then. But if you're going to do it, it's just like, put a bunch of effing care into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if it should take it super seriously.
Yeah.
It's one of your cornerstone films that helped you
Right.
build the company.
I know.
Don't throw it on your digital platform.
It literally has the Disney jingle "When You Wish Upon a Star." Like it was playing, and I was just like, oh, "Holy shit! This is the theme."
Yeah,
you know,
that's unbelievable.
So 80 years of an a pass between that original film, and I can make that comparison because you're right. There's sequels, there's there's the Disney Vault, releases,
Right,
but
yeah.
this is trying to gun for that original story. Yeah, I mean, I was really looking for some positives here. I think, again, unfortunately, I really just land in the same exact spot that I land with all these films. Probably most recently, I mean, this was just right before we started the podcast. I finally gave the Aladdin live action remake a
Oh, of
shot.
course, yeah.
And it's like, it's not bad, but it's definitely like, I'm not recommending this film. In no way am I saying, hey, yeah, you gotta go see this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
In no way do I say that. But particularly the CGI is really not great, which is disappointing for Zemeckis. I mean, I think how I, again, introduced this, I think there was a certain excitement I had to saying, well, all right, he's certainly, I mean, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, a pioneer of combining animation and live action on screen.
Right. No, definitely. And Polar Express was weird and cool and had its own little style to it.
Definitely cited as like an uncanny valley kind of, looks too real.
It was weird.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. It was different because
yeah.
at least it was different.
Yeah, and also not a bad story. But
And Zemeckis is pretty respected because...
Oh, for sure.
Did Zemeckis also do... No. I'm trying to think the last time that they worked together.
Maybe it was Polar Express because Hanks is in.
Yeah. He's a good director.
Yeah. Definitely.
I would say he's above average.
Yes, absolutely.
He did Castaway.
I'm not hating on Zemeckis at all.
No, for sure.
Though there is a, of course.
There's winners and losers still.
There's the elephant in the room of Forrest Gump, but I'll dance around that as long as I can on the podcast, folks. But yeah, the CGI is just not great. Certain surfaces, let me say it's good and bad. Certain surfaces like clothing and fabric honestly look photorealistic. There's some money behind this thing.
Okay.
Perfect example is Jiminy Cricket's hat. You can kind of see there's like a felt like microfibers to it.
Okay.
It's like, wow, this looks great. Other areas are seriously bad. The entire Pleasure Island segment tries to achieve so much more endlessness and grandeur shown through it that clearly animation was the right fit for, there's this really, it just looks like cheap green screen. Like we could whip it together right now, Tom. There's this certain segment that they're like sliding down like a candy mountain, and it just like,
bad.
It looks bad. It looks bad. Yeah, I mean, realistically, I'll clock that back a little bit because, again, this is a children's film. This is especially trying to maybe introduce this story to new generations. Does that really make a difference to children? Probably not. But what does is pacing and tone. I think very simply, there is an extra 20 minutes of runtime on this, and it really just doesn't do anything for the story. It's space for Alan Silvestri's new songs, and I think I really try to stay away from reviews, but I think that might be key to some of the hate online. These new songs, like how could they change this kind of stuff?
Right.
Again, I don't...
You messing with the formula kind of deal?
Yeah, I guess. But they've been doing that for all the live actions, adding a sprinkle of one or two new songs.
Do you think that they're also doing it for length? Because like you don't have an hour and 20-minute movie anymore?
Right.
But at the same time, maybe that would be great. I mean, put it on Disney Plus anyway. Just make it an hour 20.
Yeah, and there's a certain like...
an hour 45.
Wild adventure to New Pinocchio. There's a certain scariness to New Pinocchio and how quickly he makes a couple wrong decisions without Jiminy Cricket, and he's now in trouble. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
It's a cautionary tale. So I think it punches less, and I think the tone is much more bland. Like I said, there are scary factors to that original Pinocchio. Some of that comes from it being a 40s film, and 40s children's film, which is wartime children. I don't know. You don't want to go with strangers, I guess, is the whole Pinocchio vibe. There was that's what I mean by these being soulless. Fans of the tone or not, maybe if folks you are saying, oh yeah, no, Pinocchio is totally unacceptable for modern audiences because it's like it's gonna just scare my child. I'm not saying that that's not a reason to maybe remake it and sand it down, but I think there is something particularly soulless about that. I don't think that's worth credit in any sort of way.
And not only that, I think it seeps through the screen and like in the most obvious ways where it's like, well, we're kind of running out of ideas here. Let's just keep on redoing.
Yep.
Let's just keep on doing the live action. That's what they're doing, and it's just like it's so. There's not enough heart behind it. It just comes off as heartless and soulless, and it sucks because again, if it's been 80 years, take another crack on it.
Yeah,
like okay, Disney World is turning 50 years old.
Sure.
Like going through milestones, in 80 years, it's like a whole new generation. You know, like the 80-year cycle and everything like that. I'm not opposed to it. But just please, take these properties that built one of the largest companies ever and really take some...
Their jingle is a song in it.
Yeah, and maybe don't do so many. Like parcel them out a little bit more so they are individually more special. It's not just like, okay, gotta pump them out. Let's do it. Cash grabs.
Sure.
And that's what it comes across, basically.
Absolutely.
Maybe Tom Hanks' performance is amazing in this. I don't know. We're about to find out.
He's all right. I'm wrapping up. I don't know if you are going to find out. I'm wrapping up on this one. But yeah, I mean, if anything, in the execution, I'm not a huge fan of Cruella or Maleficent, but at least I'm going to give credit to those type of things as trying to create something new.
Yeah, for sure.
They're trying to have fun with a villain.
There are actually elements of Cruella that you liked a decent amount.
Yeah,
one of the first films we did on the podcast.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. I just think, if there's anything of value in watching such an old animation film is maybe seeing how a cautionary tale would be made. And again, I'm clocking a lot of this back because it is ultimately a kid's story, but I think the rule of thumb is a kid can tell when something is soulless.
Yeah.
There's something primal, if you will.
I totally agree.
Yeah. This film has no thrill, and it fits right to the bill of straight to Disney Plus release. We're going to go ahead and give Pinocchio a 44.
Ooh, 44. We are not doing well this week. I like seeing these middle-of-the-road scores.
It's true. And it's weird. I'm very excited to talk about a lot of these films.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. It was a bad week. It was a bad week.
Maybe 2 or 3 sentences on Tom Hanks? 2 or 3 words?
Pretty good. Nose prosthetic was the best prosthetic I've seen this year.
Really?
Yeah, he's got like the exact nose of Geppetto.
Oh, that's cool. Okay,
it looks like Geppetto.
People hated his stuff on the makeup on him as Colonel Parker.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But no, it's pretty decent.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna keep on going here. This film is now called Barbarian. This is directed by Zach Kreger. And again, if you could just kind of set up Barbarian a little bit. This is actually it's in the theaters.
Yeah.
It's doing okay as far as like what theaters have been doing this summer. So what is this film? What do we have here?
So yeah, I really wish this film would have came out in October because this is a full-on horror film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm hoping it can maybe survive to at least get
It might get fresh breath.
Pumpkin spice money, if you will.
That's good. It might get a new breath or new.
Yeah, because it's getting a lot of good reviews, and I am of the same. I think it's a pretty interesting movie. The director here, Zach Kreger, is actor turned director, and he's got a lot of hype around this. He started his career in comedy with the sketch show Whitest Kids You Know. Honestly, a favorite of mine. If you don't know Whitest Kids You Know, look up the YouTube video Sniper Business. It's a great example of their type of comedy. And clearly a secret formula in Hollywood right now. Taking comedy talent and flipping them into horror. I'm talking Jordan Peele, John Krasinski, Chris Rock even. And now Zach is added to that, and I think successfully flipped from comedy into horror.
All right, very cool.
Barbarian is an odd one. I want to give a lot of points to originality, definitely to the type of horror that will greatly benefit from no spoilers. So I gotta be pretty vague with this.
As always with some of these, we kind of have to dance around them.
Yeah, there's it's not even the presence of twists and turns. It's just it's what the film tries to put emphasis on that is so shocking in this film. The general description is we follow a girl named Tess, played by Georgina Campbell. She travels to a kind of a shady Airbnb in the middle of dilapidated Detroit, and it's just like, what? What are you doing? That's kind of the, if you will, the pitch that the film and the marketing has been putting out. My pitch more so for this film is that it's about the location itself. Our topic is really about the history of a home and how the secrets of a home may spiral wildly out of control. and how maybe the home itself is the horror. And I really there's at first I walked away from this film. I said, okay, yeah, I thought it was good, but not great. But I really was sitting with this one this week, and I think there's a lot to love about that because of just how much it's like, yeah, I can't really describe this in a solid
were there
way.
moments maybe, or just like even stepping back from it, where times where there really wasn't that much going on screen, and yet you felt that horror and you felt that kind of thriller, and it was all just because of the setup and the look and the house and
the setting too. I mean, as silly as it is, an Airbnb, and I mean, every home on the block is dilapidated.
Right.
It's just this Airbnb, in no way.
Right.
But there's almost something to that's like right from the word go. We're just like something's
something's off here.
Yeah, and that unease and that unsettling aspect is great.
Honestly, I don't know. It doesn't sound like anything revolutionary. But as long as it's done well,
yes,
and it's done tastefully, where it's all you need to do is catch those feelings. You just have to do it in a certain way.
Exactly.
Now it's an hour and 42. How much does it hold up there? Is it from go and it's for an hour and 42? You were just like freaking out?
No. There's definitely some lead into it, but yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like more than an hour and 42 in a good way, not in a bad way.
Okay,
more like wow, the ride we were taking on, basically.
Okay, cool.
So. This film also stars Bill Skarsgård, back to horror after a brief deviation. I think regardless, folks, what you thought of the two It remakes, Skarsgård's Pennywise was easily the best part. So I was really excited to see him back in horror because he's even without all the makeup and whatnot, he's a very interesting character actor to watch on screen.
Okay, I was going to say, like, a very interesting looking person.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. He is an interesting looking person. So, and I would say out of the blue, Justin Long as well.
The man who doesn't age.
It's true. He plays kind of a meta actor character in this. He's not Justin Long, but he's a actor in this.
Okay.
And I enjoyed the inclusion because, I mean, he is a very idiotic character, but also kind of needed to push us deeper where otherwise, every rational character is saying, no way.
So we need incompetent people
yes.
to kind of get us there and get us in these places or rooms or something like that.
And I think that's why I was walking away from this. I was just like, I was so upset with the idiocy of this horror film. I didn't think it needed it in parts. And then as I reflected on it more, I was just like, all right, it maybe didn't need it, but I don't know if I can knock it because ultimately our desire as the audience is to push deeper into the story.
And this character was a gateway for that.
Exactly.
So was he good at it? I was gonna make the connection of just like here we are taking another comedic or comedy figure. Doesn't really do that many serious stuff.
Yeah.
But it sounds like he wasn't. I don't know. He's still in a serious movie. Like how was he being that?
No,
incompetent character?
He's a lot of comedy.
Okay.
I don't know. And I mean, Long's filmography is all over the place, but he has done some horror. He did Tusk, I think, which was kind of a weird, alt horror film.
Okay, gotcha.
I did enjoy his inclusion, mostly because I haven't seen him in forever, so it was just kind of like, all right,
Yeah, he's like you said, he's all over the place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But like I said, folks, I mean, on that note, I mean, the movie does really have some really dumb character decisions sprinkled all over it. I was going to come down, or rather, it is going to come down to personal tolerance on this one. The script of the characters, even kind of comments on how idiotic some decisions are. Again, kind of dipping a little bit into a meta quality, but then proceeds to do it all before those comments just kind of disappear and filter out. So I'm going to mark it as kind of a personal tolerance. I will say I kind of flip-flopped on giving this time to kind of marinate.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it was ultimately worth it where the film ends up with it. I just want to note that for me, I was ready to crucify this film. But I think with the full film in hindsight, I think the ride may just be worth overlooking it. And it's tough because I look back maybe to like an Evil Dead, early reviews going back to last October. And I think I maybe skewered some films with that. Not that I'm going back on that, but for me as a refining my critical approach to it, I got to really figure out how much do I hate idiots on screen or not. When is it worth it? When is it not?
That's a big thing. Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah. So I was reflecting on a lot of things this week, just how surreal it is that I'm working through like the rated R thing. Everything needs to be rated R for me. That's a new quality of me watching films,
It's
and a
something-
product of watching 5 movies a week.
Yeah,
so-
and we've talked about movies a lot of years before the podcast, and it really was something I don't think I've ever heard you say.
Yeah, exactly. So
You know?
it's kind of surreal to process it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I would say 2 biggest positives here, if I really want to end on positives of why you're going to be hooked on this. One is great gore, some nice practical effects work, and not in your face either. I think it really has some viscerally shocking moments because it is the absence of traditional horror in most scenes. The horror, again, is being kind of built by the setting, the presence of an unease, and then finally when some more aspects kind of in your face come, it's just really good quality. And not at all something like we covered like The Curse, where finally when the horror comes,
Yep.
the CGI looks like I made it over a weekend,
Totally killed that film.
yeah, really. So it's all in the execution, and in the execution, excellent camera work. Some really amazing looking zooms.
Wow. Okay.
A lot of fun first person shots that are utilizing kind of a fisheye. It's not just like a Doom first person look of it. There's artistry being put into how we present this. I gotta make that comment for you, Tom.
It was revolutionary at the time, what Dune did.
It's got my boy in it. But I think my summary thoughts here, surprisingly enjoyable. Yeah, there are some frustrating aspects to the presentation, but it rises above the usual idiotic horror tropes because of where we go with it. Maybe on further rewatches, I can pick up more actual meaning to tie into it, but for now, this film is a recommend for how much the story evolves and how damn good it is to look at. We're going to go ahead and give Barbarian a 71.
Ooh, nice. 71 for Barbarian. Very good, Vin.
Oh, yeah. I was happy to see, again, hopefully it kind of stays in theaters till October.
I wouldn't be surprised. We're getting close now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I look at the release window in October, and it's like, why are we front loading in September? Like,
it really is dumb. It is stupid. It's God, I don't know. I honestly,
spooky month.
I can't figure out this year whatsoever.
Right.
Really, when it comes out with release and what's happening in the
true.
theaters.
That's true.
It'd be interesting though if you love this movie so much to check out the cinematographer maybe on a couple others.
Oh, yeah?
He was cinematographer on a horror movie in 2016 and 2019.
Oh, really?
The one looked cool. It was like a black and white or something like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
The eyes of my mother or something like that.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so that's 71 for Barbarian. Does the name fit the movie?
I honestly don't know why it's called Barbarian.
I'm sitting here thinking. That's what I was trying to sit here and think that. Yeah.
I think I have a guess, but it's not immediately present. And that's where I say maybe on further rewatches I could pick up some more actual meaning to it.
Sure. Yeah. But no, I mean 71. That's a pretty damn good movie there.
Yeah, definitely worth
Cool.
a watch.
All right, and that's good. Again, we've been getting some of these horror movies. You did a Sam Raimi horror kind of recently, and it's nice to see that this isn't played out yet.
Yes,
we're
absolutely.
certainly new and fresh genre. It's not my genre of choice. I'm not really going to sit down and watch it a lot, but you hit it pretty hard, and it's nice that we're getting these.
Oh, for
these
sure.
ones that are still unique in their own way, or shot well, and they look nice, and because boy, there's some bad, especially in the genre by itself.
Oh, yeah. And if you think about just how much is released that is just not in theaters technically, that you could come across as far as streaming fodder.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean,
Okay, all right. So now we're gonna go with the big release. This is the one that's being billed as the big one. Even so, at the box office, it's not like crushing it by any means.
Really?
Of course, it's still number one, but it's just like, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But this is The Woman King. This is directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, but definitely the biggest one that I think everyone listening here is going to kind of get an idea. We know what the deal is because it's being shoved at us the most.
Oh, for sure. Big marketing budget on this.
Exactly right.
A lot of behind-the-scenes exposés kind of thing on that.
Right. What do we get with Black Panther 2?
He said it, folks. This movie has a 95 to a 99 on Rotten Tomatoes, and if you know me, folks, that makes me very excited to tear a film apart. But I will soften this, and this was definitely not a bad film. I have some nitpicks. I have some actual valid criticism. But I think it kind of, my objective here is more so just tempering. In no way, if you walked into this film thinking it was like 99,
It's so dumb. It's a 99 audience score, too.
It's just not true to your experience, and I don't think it's true to even the lovers of this film's experience either. So
it's the people. Well, let's talk about it before we rip apart the score, because it's so ridiculous. But go ahead.
Marketing-wise, this is now floating around with the term alternative history, which I feel is a term that says basically there are certainly historical aspects, but the story and the conclusion is fiction. I'll compare to a lot of different things, but you look at something like Gladiator and it was just historical fiction. I don't think this alternate history type of thing needs to be flagged around, but I guess that's going to be the new subgenre that's going to be floating around.
It's kind of annoying.
Yeah, because it's just a fiction. It's history, but it's a story. It's a fiction story, but.
Yeah,
maybe that's a nitpick. Maybe
no, I don't think so. Well, there's a big difference. I think, like you said, I think we are going to get more and more films like this. I think they're going to be billed almost as like a Gladiator, and it doesn't belong there. It's its own fake history thing.
Yeah, and believe me, there's plenty
fine.
of fake history to like a Gladiator as a perfect example, but yeah, it's just it's odd that they need to put that out there. This is telling the kind of a period piece, again, one of these kind of period piece films in the 18th century of the African kingdom of Dahomey. However, it is structured, despite this 18th century, it is structured
18th century or 1800s.
I think it's 1800s. Yeah.
Okay. It's not the big
sure, no,
not a
absolutely.
big difference, but yeah.
Because I think it was 17th to 19th century is the overall span.
Yeah.
This feels like a much older setting because of the kingdoms and the swords and the royalty, even though they are dealing with muskets and slave trade and something we would consider semi modern, if you will.
Yeah, this is for sure.
We experience the nation in the eyes of Viola Davis, who plays the main general of an entirely female force, but many more get the focus in kind of a semi-ensemble cast. This includes Shauna Lynch, who of course was 007 in No Time to Die. I really enjoyed her quite a bit in here, including a new young actress, Thuso Mamedu. It really feels like an older style of film, though. Slightly refreshing. It feels like an old 2000s epic with many characters set in a grand setting. I think it did kind of achieve some sort of genuineness of how much of a period piece it was.
So how did it do that? Was it through sets and the way it was shot?
It just, I don't know. Again,
it's just the feel of the film.
Yeah, it's just the feel of the film. There's I'll go into what really is the bulk of it is training, and there's just maybe something that I was, it felt with just a lot of the costume work, how much we are diving into the culture of the nation, that would be there in any of the period piece, semi-fantasy, light fantasy of these early 2000s big epics that we were getting.
Right.
Structurally, the film is mostly training sequences. Gave me a lot of Mulan vibes, especially with the female element, where the training is the focus in the script and in the plot to be paid off with real action. We covered this as well, being a story structure with G.I. Jane.
Right. Yep.
And there's many similar war stories. If you want a superhero comparison, Batman Begins, kind of same thing. It's training with payoff of real action. And that's the whole structure of it. I'll tell you what, this movie would be about 10 points better with a real good villain, though. I really wanted something to kind of just seal it all, and especially with this semi-ensemble cast. They have different priorities. They have different things that they care about. It would have been nice to unite them within the same. It's
kind of weird that there isn't, and just when you set up like this, you would think there would be a natural villain that we're building up to defeating, or that
it's there. There
impending
is
doom.
There's
type
certainly
of deal.
antagonists. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And don't get me wrong. There is actually a very meaningful conflict that is very, very slowly, kind of built up and very slowly introduced. But the pacing is off for how much shared spotlight we get.
Okay.
And the pacing definitely feels, this is 2 hours 15?
Yeah, 2 hours 15.
It really feels, if anything, like those 2000s epics, like a 3-hour affair, because pacing wise, we're just kind of stopping depending on which member of the nation or this this unit we're focusing on, because not everyone is moving towards the same goal, and not everyone is even moving towards a goal at all.
Was it unfocused for that reason? Could it rather be like, let's just stay with this unit working towards something, bad guy, then boom, at the end we deal with the bad guy. And it's like an hour and 50.
Yeah, maybe I would have even been critiquing it if it was that simple, but I feel like a singular focus to what they were combating really would have made this film a lot more electric.
Yeah, a sole evil to be working towards defeating, basically.
Yeah. You look at similar alternative history like Gladiator. And so much is elevated by the great villain. I mean, it smooths out.
So true.
Yeah, it smooths out pacing, and more importantly, and this is where my perspective on plot and script is coming in here. It makes it that every action is a step towards the goal, rather than having side plots.
Exactly. Very well put. Yep.
Yeah. So, some notes on characters. Like I said, Lashana Lynch is seriously great in this. No joke.
Okay.
He has his doubt. He's still holding the hatred.
I mean, she was like cool. They didn't need to call her 007. You know what I mean? Like she could have been 008 or something. That would be
the fan is
cooler.
hurt still.
But I didn't dislike her or her acting, I'll say.
Yes.
Like she definitely carried herself on screen really well.
Yeah, and I think she really brings a lot to this. She was by far my favorite character, my favorite actor, or rather actress in this.
Even after Davis.
Yeah.
Because we loved Viola Davis.
I do. I don't really have a lot of notes on Viola Davis, just because I felt that it was like, maybe I was expecting too much, but it feels like a very just humdrum kind of role for her.
Okay. Kind of just her with an accent.
Yeah.
And kind of.
Exactly. And same kind of, either she's a bad bitch, or she's like, really emotionally in-depthful.
Yep,
And it's
definitely.
kind of a mix of that. So.
Okay.
If you will, that's really a lot of Viola Davis's roles. I'm always excited to kind of see that. In this, I was hoping she has the big spotlight. This is almost her vehicle, if you will.
Because there are comparisons to this Gladiator.
Yeah.
So we are kind of expecting some type of what's his face performance.
Yeah, Russell Crowe.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. But back to Lynch. I mean, in James Bond, I would describe her as a welcome addition, adding some badassery to it. In this, that is, he's so ready to.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut in. Go. Why don't you finish your statement? Was she showing up late to everything too? Was she as useless as she was in 007 or in James Bond?
Oh man!
Did she show up and Viola was just like, we pretty much got it handled here, but we appreciate it. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's perfectly fine. I knew I was in trouble when I was bringing up James Bond, honestly.
Okay, go back to what you said. You liked her as far as her badassery.
No, I think it's taken to the next level.
Okay.
She is not only given a role that plays well to her character, she's kind of given this big sister role among the unit. And she really shines in it, but the badassery is also taken up a notch as well. And I thought she was great in this. I mean, well beyond Viola Davis, and well beyond some of the critiques I have.
Okay, we're going to have to keep an eye on her then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she just upped the role so much. A classic case of this could be one thing, and I think she brought a lot to it. And, if anything, I was looking a little bit in her filmography. She's, I guess, doing the Matilda remake.
Yep, that'll be coming out this year.
Which I think is kind of interesting. I love Matilda, so and maybe she can bring a lot to that as well. So, on the bad, and unfortunately, again, I always feel a little bad, folks, picking on younger actors.
Okay.
Our youngest actor, Thuso Mbedu, and Jordan Blogger, man, their accent work, it almost sounds silly. It almost sounds offensive coming out in certain scenes. It's a real big anomaly, though, because you will see scenes with them alone or with other actors, and it's not bad. Particularly to Mbedu, her with other children actors, with Viola Davis, pretty good. there's a heavy romance subplot between these two characters, though. Jordan or Blogger plays a Portuguese, trader.
Okay.
And it's kind of like forbidden love type of thing. Man, the scenes that they are together are so bad. It's a classic case of just like they can't bounce off each other. The work is not being elevated. The accent work falls apart. I think both of them are real bad as far as chemistry. And again, I'm really not just trying to pick on young actors, but it took me out of it.
Yeah, they
really
ruin
did.
movies.
Yeah,
oftentimes kids can ruin movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not only that, this romance subplot I thought was wholly unnecessary.
Okay.
And if anything, kind of took away from some of the female power that obviously this film oozes. I feel like that distracted from it. That it was just about this.
So if you cut away from that, now you're having a more kind of just a less fat and more fine-tuned film.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, trim it down. Then that pacing maybe isn't a problem. That pacing
definitely
has the runway to feel a little bit slower and play out this ensemble or semi kind of ensemble tale. Like I said, while I may not have liked some aspects here, I did not think this was a bad movie. Do I think it was anywhere close to a 99, a 95? No way in hell, folks.
Yeah.
But this was not a bad movie. A big blockbuster period piece that I think achieves probably the most important quality, and that is making these women warriors badass. Fundamentally, that is what this film has to do, and I'm happy to say it succeeds at that. The culture these women warriors have, again, regardless of the historical accuracies, this alternate history, what the film is actually achieving on screen. I was rooting for them because they sell it themselves. They've earned the badassery to it. They've earned these cool set pieces, this well-earned epic, because it's so much about the training. We see from the plot so much of what they go through to be badass, and I think that's well earned. It's not Mary Sue. It's not what many of a naysayer would say online with a fully woman project like this.
Yeah. So what's coming into my head, and maybe it has to do with it. It feels like a more early, like maybe 1990s or 2000s period piece. It doesn't feel like Wonder Woman with the Amazonian chicks or the full female brigade,
or Captain Marvel or something like that. It's
not just one note. It's not just like, oh, don't worry, we're covering our woke bases here. It goes further than that, at least.
It goes further than that, and it's well earned because, again, I not only in the execution or in these scenes that they are, fighting and whatnot, or even the bonding between the women in the tribe. It's all actually very well earned.
It's got real heart to it.
Exactly.
Oh, good,
so it's not bad. However, this does open up some problems, and folk, you can probably fill out the bingo sheet on what I'm gonna say, and needs to be rated R and cut the time a little bit. You're gonna have you donate, you get a daily ratings bingo sheet. What's Vince gonna say?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And again, like I said, in no way that I overly want to just tear this film apart. I if anything,
you came away actually enjoying it. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's actually a good end of summer blockbuster. It seems like,
And I think more than anything, it was quite refreshing returning to this kind of, it almost goes back to what we were saying last week, that whatever the Matt Damon quote, that films like this don't get made, or maybe it was back to the special.
Right,
films like this don't get made. This film felt like one of those old films that don't get made anymore.
It's actually very surprising.
Yeah.
Because you would think that this just has blockbuster, blah.
Exactly.
And not a lot of care taken into it. Okay.
Exactly.
That's good. I might be interested in seeing this. Yeah.
So that's it goes back to my objective in the very beginning. Is this a 99? No. But it is a successful one that may feel refreshing in its scope. An epic, and honestly earns its place among the peers because of its own badassery and because of how much the film earns that type of description through the scenes we see and the plot that unfolds. We're going to go ahead and give The Woman King a 70 on the dot.
Wow, 70, very good. So, and it's funny that you would still you would put it in the epic category. It's a big enough movie, or has that big feel to it.
For sure.
There's enough going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that comes from some of the pacing because we get sidetracked quite a bit, but maybe that adds to the scale as well.
Okay.
So.
Wow, that's a good surprise. And like you said, it's got 94 on the critics. It's got 99 audience score. It's just ridiculous.
99? Like, what? You got no problems with it?
I think people feel like they need to like it.
Yeah.
I think you have an all-black cast, and people feel like they need to be kind to this.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they're going to be like, I don't know, I guess called racist on like a bunch of online people are going to be called racist by a bunch of other online people. It's ridiculous.
Right.
But
so hopefully,
you know what I mean?
in the objective of the review, it's about maybe tampering some expectations and being real with it. Let's real talk.
And 70 is a good. Just to remind people with daily ratings,
absolutely,
70 is a good score. That's saying it's a good movie.
Yeah, and the film earns it. You know what I mean? The film, hopefully, I've illustrated that the film can earn that on its own.
I think this might be a good. I might just wait till it comes out on digital.
Sure,
but one to throw on and just kind of enjoy a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay. All right, Vin. Well, looking at these scores, is there anything else to add here, or we're going to roll credits?
No, I gotta say, I really, really enjoyed talking about film this week, but no, nothing else to add.
It's funny, we started out the week. Well, we started out the episode being like, it was a great week. It was a good week we had. And it's like,
realistically,
it was an okay week. But okay, Vin, we thank you for watching these films and stopping by with us this week. Folks at home, we're going to run it by one more time here. We have 48 Hours with a 48%, Breaking with a 37%, Pinocchio with a 44, Barbarian with a 71, and The Woman King with a 70. Folks, we thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, could you give us a good rating or tell a friend about us? If you're wondering if a film is worth a watch, or just to see more movie ratings from Vince, be sure to stop by thedailyratings.com, where we have our ever-expanding catalog of films. Also, if you found value in the podcast or our site, become a producer and go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel you receive from us. We're looking to build this into something large and great, but also be independent from those corporate sponsors, so we greatly appreciate any support from you all. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.